Val, I loved how you kind of walked him through that, and we can do that with each other, you know. But tell me about how that felt when that moment when you felt your strongest, you felt you just knew everything was right in line, you know. Helping to recognize those moments and those feelings is really key. I had another experience that was interesting though, that helped me to understand my why deeper. And I think this is another way that we can try to discover our why. I was at training for that Brianne Hovey-Witt's doing. She asked us, there was probably 250 people in the room. She asked us to stand up and go introduce ourselves to 10 people we didn't know, as if we were 10 years down the road in our life and doing the things that we really wanted to be doing. And I had such a powerful experience. The first couple people I talked to, I shared what I thought was my why. I'm helping people live a healthier life. You know, I'm sharing natural solutions with them. But about the third or fourth person, all of a sudden I started saying something that I had not even ever thought of. And I was telling them, I have a retreat for women who are going through cancer. And they come there and they have natural solutions to help heal them. There's emotional work done. They find a connection and a support with other women. And they feel strength in the midst of their cancer journey. And all of a sudden I recognized that is really what I want to do this for. That is what I want to build this for, is to create this place for women who have had an experience similar to mine, and be able to give them the support and love that they need to really thrive through that journey. So we don't always have an opportunity in a big group like that to do it, but many of you have like-minded friends who aren't into Doterra, who care about understanding their purpose and what's important to them. So get a few friends together and do the same thing, and just start asking each other questions. You know, how are you impacting the world 10 years from now, you know? And you'll be surprised what will sort of bubble to the surface and help you to recognize some of the things that really, really are important.
So how about you, Roger? What does this say to you in this subject matter?
Well, I love what you guys are talking about. I think, you know, the way Val walked through with you what your why is all about is it's one of the most fun things that we get to do with people is help them tap into that. And I think it's important that we help them tap into that. For me, it's about longevity, and it's about understanding, you know, where you're really wanting to go. You know, as Sherry's talking about with that activity of looking down the road 5 years, who are you? What are you doing? Where do you live? What activities do you do as part of your life, inside Doterra, outside Doterra? What does the world look like? And I think it's sometimes we just ask ourselves those questions. It helps to tap into what's at the base of this? Why are we doing it? What are we going? Because the truth of the matter is, you can do Doterra up to a certain point without ever crossing any of those questions. But there gets to a point where it has to be something deeper. And you were asking about, well, how do you help someone through that process? And I think there's lots of different ways, but the biggest thing for me is it's about listening. It's not about providing a solution to anyone, because the answer to the why is different for every single person. And so it's really important to become a good listener. It's really important to be a good listener, you have to be able to ask questions and not come up with answers, not provide answers, just ask lots and lots of questions and allow a person the chance to talk. And, you know, as you were saying, Stephen, at the bottom of this is relationships. And so if that is really at the heart of what this business is about, and I agree that it is, it's one of the things I love about this. For me, deep relationships are very important. And so this is a chance, helping someone explore their why is a chance to deepen a relationship with someone. It's a chance to really help that person understand where they fit into this community that you're building. Because that's really our job is to go out and build a community of people that are like-minded. And the community can be physical, like Sherry's talking about. It could be a retreat, it could be a center with physical walls. And what I've come to learn over my time with Doterra, I used to want to build a retreat as well, and now I'm not really looking to build a retreat, but mostly because I feel like we're already building a community. We're already building places where people can come and feel cared for and learn about how to care for themselves. And it's a virtual community. It's spread across 30 different countries, but it's still a very valuable community. And so I think that's the thing. How do you fit into this community? Where are the sticking points? What is it that you want out of life? The answers to those questions are the things that are going to help you to be able to get through those days, like you were saying, Stephen, when you're not feeling like doing Doterra again, because we all have them. They're gonna come. There's gonna be a day, and hopefully the why will be strong enough that 2 days later the energy's back and you come back and you're refreshed and engaged and wanting to to step back into it. But without that why, you don't.
Well, how about this relationship between values and the why? I mean, because this connection between relationships and the why and all the rest of it really needs to have joint values. You need to have, because obviously relationships only build if you kind of at least got close values with each other. I mean, that becomes a problem, because I think sometimes our why is a combination of personal history, family life, relationships, failures, successes, experiences, actions that we've taken. It's all of these things, isn't it? We're a combination, or a kind of a mix of all these elements in life, which makes us who we are.
Well, I like that you say that, Stephen, because we've been talking about why is important to us in doing our business. And I think what you're saying brings up a good point to me. Part of understanding our why is also helping every person we talk to in every sales conversation understand what's important to us. I hope all of you will read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's brilliant. And he says in there, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. So this is kind of what you were talking about, Stephen. Your values are showing through in every conversation, in every interaction with people, and you're drawing people to you that share those values and feel the same drive for the same things that you do, or similar things. So I guess I'd ask the question, how do you translate your why into your sales conversations with people? How do they even get to recognize what that is?
Well, I do it online. I do it with content, and so it comes through with that. I think the podcast is the personal podcast has helped. I've had a few emails about it, because most people haven't realised I was English in the first place. Most thought I was an American, but even last downline, I had a girl from Madrid, French girl from Madrid who joined, and when we spoke on Skype, she was shocked and realised I wasn't actually American. She assumed I came from New York or something like that. And when I told her I was living in Finland, I was a Englishman living in Finland, she was quite shocked. She's like, I really, really thought you were an American. I said, well, I'm sorry for the disappointment, but but I don't know. I think my persona online is whatever it is. I have to say I don't really think about it too much. I create content, I put it out there, and when it comes to personal relationships, people more and more and more ask me about the business locally, and I generally don't talk about the oils that much. I talk about the business in general, and that seems to be a thing that works a lot better than talking about the oils. They seem to be interested in, you know, what I'm doing more than the oils themselves. Strangely enough, because they can't really understand how I do it, and so when I've had a short conversation, I go, ah.
Yeah, so I was faced with this issue in a really large scale way. I was asked when we had a Toronto corporate event to lead the tech splits. And I was like, I hate tech splits. And I was in the middle, in my own personal journey, I was discovering, why do I do this? Who am I? And what's my story? And how do I put who I am into everything I do? So then all of a sudden I'm asked to do this tech splits. And I'm like, my first response was, no, thank you. I have no desire to lead a tech splits. But then the challenge came into my head. How do you do a tech splits from who you are, right? Like, if this is what I'm preaching, this is what I'm learning, how do I do it? So I took basically everything corporate gave me and I kind of just erased the entire PowerPoint. And I was like, I'm going to try this on my own. So what I did was, we just looked at the value of your story, because it's part of my experience, but something I'm so passionate about is helping everybody understand their entire story has purpose and has beauty and has meaning. And a lot of this work has come from reading like Brené Brown stuff about vulnerability and shame and connection, and allowing people to see that their entire story has value and has purpose, even the dirty parts, even the bad parts, right? And so being able to then see your whole story, see the value in it, and then from a place of wholeness, present that in a vulnerable but connecting way to connect with people who connect with that story. So my why is so deeply ingrained in my story because it's who I am, right? So what we did was I changed the tech splits and said, instead of saying, you know, what a normal one would say is like, hey, are you interested in trying a sample? If I send you one, would you try it? If I host a class, would you do it? Blah, 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 right? Like the simple questions. I gave them a challenge to get like a 1-sentence gist of their story, which is not easy, right? Your entire life in 1 sentence. But mine was broken moms who need to know their worth. And so that's part of my story. So what I challenged, I gave them an example. I said, here's what you can text. Hey, do you know any moms who need to know their worth? Do you know any moms who are tired and need hope? Those are who I want to connect with. And if it wasn't, sometimes it might be that mom who they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been waiting for this. Or they would say, you know what, my sister needs to hear that. So that instantly connected my story and my why with the crowd that I'm going to connect with, because I'm going to connect with moms who need to know their worth and their hope, and that there's more than just spitting out babies for 10 years, right? I'm not going to connect with the men who have been up on stage and who jamming and like, that's probably not my crowd. And that's great because that's who Stephen connects with. So knowing my why in almost such a simplified way in order to provide that, even in a tech splits, even in a conversation, it allows me to right away start with it, but then invite and bring those people who will connect with me.
When you're in a situation, whether it's a tech splits or where you're teaching a class or you're just meeting up with friends, and you are aware of why you're doing this and you're connected to your values and to who you are, that it comes through subtly, but it also, knowing it, gives you the opportunity to be able to share that at the point where it makes sense. And this requires a little bit of intuition, right? It requires a little bit of knowing where your heart is, knowing where the conversation is, knowing the audience, so to speak. But if you're in a class and you can say, you know, this is a little bit of my story, this is where I come from, this is why I'm here, that engages with everybody in that room on a totally different level. You know, for me, it's about, I really want to help people experience freedom at a totally new level. I want them to understand physical freedom. I want them to understand financial freedom. I want them to understand emotional freedom, and be able to empower themselves to seek for those things. And when I share that, it's no longer about, hey, you know what, I'm trying to convince you to buy this oil. It's now someone's asking themselves different questions. Well, okay, so what is this oil going to do to help me with that goal of being able to empower myself so that I can experience freedom on a different level in my life? It's a totally different question. And just by sharing something brief but impactful, you can change the vibe in the room. Some people do it right at the start of a class. Some people do it as they're going through a class. Some people do it as right at the start of a text list. And I think, but the key is, you can't do any of those things unless you know what it is, unless you know what your values are, unless you know what your why is. And all of this is coming back to saying, you know what, if you really want to succeed in Doterra, you're going to have to do some self-exploration, and you're going to have to figure out a little bit of the depth within you of who you are, what you value, and that is going to be the thing that takes you through those hard times. It's being in touch with who you are.
Mm-hmm. And can I give encouragement to that? Because you're so right, Roger. And someone might hear it and be like, oh, I could just do this job and it's never required to do that. Maybe, is it worth it, right? But one thing that I've encouraged people is as it's so true that you have to do that to be able to tap into that Doterra, but the value in your entire life,
right,
what that will empower you. Because how many times I read, you know, the book, what's the one they tell us all to read right at the beginning? The one about the compound effect.
Slight Edge.
Slight Edge. So I read the Slight Edge right at the beginning because they're like, if you want to do this business, read it. I was applying those principles to my marriage, to my parenting, way before I was applying it to my business. And all of that self-discovery that you're talking about, if someone hears this and is like, oh, it might not be worth doing that just for a job, I can't even begin to explain how much it transforms your whole life. It literally has made me a better wife and a better mom and a better friend in every way possible. Yes, it's helped my business, but that journey of doing that is so necessary and good for all of who you are. And then the benefits of benefiting your business is just icing on the cake, I feel like.
And so many people are as well, you know, this is kind of the scary thing. Let's call a spade, right? Some people are listening to this and they're going to be like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know what I'm going to uncover. The reality is you're going to uncover some amazing, amazing parts of yourself. And yeah, it's a little bit scary as you're going through it, but it's so worth it. And as Val's saying, it's not just worth it for your Doterra business. It's worth it for your marriage. It's worth it for your family. It's worth it for deeper relationships with your friends. It's worth it just to enjoy life more. Mm-hmm. And so I encourage, you know, if you're looking at this and you're saying, I don't know that I want to do that. I don't know what self-exploration, that's not for me. Actually, it is for you. You're probably exactly the person that needs it if you're sitting there questioning. So, yeah, buck up, dig in a little bit, and do some self-exploration, because the result is well worth it.